What's going on, fantasy football fans? I'm your host, Hussein the Brain, and you're watching The Couch. It's week 17 of fantasy football. Happy holidays out there. And if you're still playing in week 17, I want to wish you guys good luck. For this video, I'm going to discuss some of my preferences that I like as a commish for fantasy football, some of my scoring and settings preferences that I want to share with you guys. Then we're going to go on to the Twitter question of the week, and then the waivers. And at the end, I have a very special question for you guys, so make sure to stay tuned. I've been a fantasy football commish for quite a while now, a few years, and here are some of the preferences that I like when it comes to scoring and settings. Some of these are more personal preferences that I like and the rest of the Fantasy Couch squad likes, and some of them are settings that I'm going to highly recommend for you guys to follow as well. We here at Fantasy Couch really like PPR leagues. We prefer the full point PPR, so you get 1 point per reception. And if you've never tried that, I suggest you try either full point or half point PPR, where you get half a point for every reception. A dual quarterback league. I personally don't like dual quarterback leagues, but if you're in a shallow league, this can be a lot of fun. You know, you got 8 teams, 16 starting quarterbacks every week, so there's plenty of quarterbacks that are decent on your bench and on waivers still. But if you're in a deep league, this can be a disaster. It's highly recommended not to do dual quarterback leagues if it's a deep league. You know, 12-man, 14-man, 16-man, this does not work out well. As far as IDP leagues go, that's individual defensive players. I like these leagues. You know, I have nothing against them. I play in one every year. Now, my recommendation, if you want to try IDP, is to go all-out IDP and not to go halfway. I think there's no purpose of being in an IDP league with one linebacker and that's it. You might as well go all out. This is our settings for our IDP league, the Fantasy Couch IDP league. We got 2 linebackers, 2 defensive linemen, 2 defensive backs, and 1 DP that's a defensive player. So you can start any defensive player there, and we do not have a defense/special teams. You know, just like in regular fantasy football leagues and standard leagues, you don't pick an entire offense, so why would you pick an entire defense? That's how we have our settings. That's just how we like to do it. As far as week 17, some people have mentioned this topic. Should our league have a week 17? I do not like having a week 17. But if you do, I highly recommend you have a week 16 and week 17 combined. So a 2-week finale, fantasy football, Super Bowl, so week 16 and 17. That way, not too much would rely on just that week 17. So, quick recap of that. If you do have a week 17, I don't recommend you do, but if you do, I would combine that with a week 16 for a 2-week championship game. Enough talk about my scoring and setting preferences. Let's go on to the Twitter question of the week. Our first question this week is from Ryan. He asks, Jeremy Hill or Jonathan Stewart at flex? Jonathan Stewart has been killing it the past few weeks. With Cam Newton there, I think he's even better than if Derek Anderson were in there. But you got to go Jeremy Hill. This is a no-brainer. He's one of the best running backs, and to think he started out as a backup this year, man. You got to go with Jeremy Hill on this one. Joe asks, who do I play on D? Panthers, Ravens, or Philly? Even though the Panthers defense has been playing well recently, I'm a little scared of Matt Ryan. So I'm going to go with the Ravens D. I think there's a lot of upside here. And, you know, we all thought there was a lot of upside last week when they played the Texans going up against a 4th-string quarterback. But, you know, that's your best pick here. I'm going with the Ravens defense for week 17. Now, on to the waivers. For quarterbacks, we know that Jimmy Clausen is not going to be starting week 17. So look at Jay Cutler. They're going to be starting him. And Cam Newton has a great matchup going against a terrible Falcons defense. Whoever wins that game is going into the playoffs. So both teams are going to be playing tough. Andy Dalton's not a guy with a high ceiling, but he has a decent matchup. And Kaepernick is a guy with a high ceiling, but a guy with a very low floor. So he's very risky as usual and been quite a disappointment this whole year. But he was one of the best quarterbacks in week 16. And I like Bridgewater, McCown, and Derek Carr in deep leagues and dual quarterback leagues. I separated the running backs into 3 tiers. For tier 1, I got Matt Asiata going against the Bears. For tier 2, I got Doug Martin and a Jaguars running back. If Toby Gerhart is hurt, you know, you want to monitor that situation. You got 3 running backs right there. And if Toby Gerhart doesn't play, Jordan Todman should see most of the carries. And for my tier 3 running backs, I have Bishop Sankey. And these last 2, Charles Sims and DeAnthony Thomas, are good if you're in a deep PPR league. So the PPR league, that's deep as well. And for wide receivers, make sure you keep tabs on the situation over there in San Diego and in Seattle with Allen and Curse. Nate Washington's been a good sleeper recently, and Albert Wilson is a super sleeper on the Chiefs. Maybe the best wide receiver they have there at the moment. And Marquise Lee is last on the list of wide receivers. Just don't know quite who's going to blow up on the Jacksonville Jaguars passing attack, who's going to be the best receiver each week. And, you know, there's such a small sample size. They don't have a potent offense, so I can't put too much faith in Marquise Lee or any Jaguar receiver. For tight ends, we basically have an inconsistent crapshoot here. As usual, Zach Ertz, Michael Rivera, Charles Clay, he's pretty good. And Kyle Rudolph, if you're looking for a tight end, searching for a tight end. But just make sure you keep tabs on that because he is injured. So I don't know if he's going to play or not this week. And here are my top 8 defenses. The Texans are up at top, but not too much is separating them from the Niners, the Broncos, and the Cardinals. You know, you got the Cardinals-Niners game. That could be a pretty low-scoring game right there. And the Jaguars, they're not known to put up a lot of points. So, you know, Texans is your best bet out of this bunch. You guys keep asking for them, so I'm going to give them to you. That's supply and demand right there. I separate the kickers into 3 tiers. The 3 kickers in the first tier are Graham Gano, Matt Bryant, and Connor Barth. Those kickers are pretty much on the elite list this week. And my tier 2 kickers are Tucker, Bailey, Swisham, and Nugent. Tucker is high risk, high reward, and Bailey is more of a safe, consistent guy. He's a guy you can start just about every week at the kicker position. And for my tier 3 kickers, we have Dawson, Bullock. Bullock has a lot of potential. Great matchup this week, but there is going to be a little bit of wind and maybe even a little bit of rain in that Houston Texans Jacksonville Jaguars game. If you have any of these 3 players, feel free to drop them. Jimmy Clausen and Johnny Manziel are done for the season, and Ben Tate got cut from the Minnesota Vikings. And that concludes my list of waivers. Now I have a question for you. I want you to ask any question you may have about fantasy football strategy. Ask me about how to be a better commish. Ask me some tips or strategies that I may use in the draft or on waivers. Spending salary cap in daily leagues. So any questions you have, please leave a comment below. I'll either answer them right there. I'll definitely respond, but I'll either answer them right there in the comments below, or I'll answer them in the series of videos I'm going to come out with. And that's all the time we have for this week. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you want to get your fantasy football championship belt, go to fantasycouch.com/store. I provided a link below in the YouTube description. See you guys on the next video.